What if managing your Kubernetes cluster wouldn't be such a pain? What if there is an easy way to manage all your deployments, doing troubleshooting, and even GitOps? And what if there are not multiple tools that you would need for a single use case? So in this video, we're going to talk about a tool that helps you do everything that we just talked about in a simplest possible way. So this tool is called Portainer, and we're not just going to talk about it because that's not what we do in this channel. If you have been following me for a long, then you will already know we always do a deep dive into the hands-on project. We test it ourselves and then we move forward from there. Okay, so we'll be implementing a real-time project using a real-time microservice-based app. It's a URL shortener app with multiple microservices, including database, cache layer, front-end, back-end, and so on. And we'll be managing it with Portainer. Portainer is a tool that was known for managing your Docker containers earlier, but recently they have entered into Kubernetes space, and that is why we are doing this video, so that I can show you the power of Portainer with the help of an end-to-end project. Okay, so without wasting any time, let's get into the video. Okay, so this is the project that we'll be implementing just right after the introduction, because I wanted to give a brief introduction about what we are going to do before we actually do the stuff, right? So as you can see, it has a lot of bits and pieces, and it could look a little overwhelming at this point of time, but trust me, when we walk through it together and when we implement it, it will be a piece of cake. Okay, so this is an application that we'll be deploying on Kubernetes. So this is our entire Kubernetes cluster. So we'll start with provisioning a Kubernetes cluster. I'll be using AKS for this, Azure Kubernetes Service, but feel free to use any cloud service of your choice. You can use AKS, EKS, GK, whatever you are comfortable with. That's not a deal breaker. You can use whatever you want. Now, the project has an entry point, the front end that will expose to the outside world. It's an ingress. Ingress has been implemented with Nginx ingress controller. So we'll be setting the ingress controller as well as ingress object, and it will listen on port 80 or 443, and then it will redirect the request to node port service of front end pods. Okay, so this front end pod, it's basically, this is a microservice based project, right? So it will have multiple microservices. Each service will do something, right? So it has a front end service. So this front end service will show you the home page, and basically it's the framework layer. Now, once the request goes there, you can do a lot of things. You can watch the stats of already generated URLs, because it's a URL shortener project. So all the URLs that you have shortened already, all the entries that we have in database, so those will be visible through the stat service. So there is a stat service over here, right? So those will be available through this stat service. Then we have a redirect service. Redirect service, what it will do, when you generate a URL, right, it will generate URL like this, /r/ with a unique ID. But then you cannot access a short URL with /r/unique ID, right? It has to be appended to the host name or the website URL, right? So this redirect service exactly does the same. It will append this uniquely generated ID with the host name or with the IP on which our homepage or the front pod will be listening to. Okay, so that's the job of redirect service. Then we have link service. Link service will just it will redirect the links from, it will show you the links, and then you can copy the link and open that in a new tab, or you can just click on the link and you can just watch the redirected URL. Right, so each of these service will do a specific purpose, and then it will have, all of these will have specific backend pods listening to it, right? Yeah. So all of these will have the specific backend pods listening to it. So for example, for stat service, there'll be a deployment for stat service backed by the pod. For redirect service, there'll be a deployment, and for link service, there'll be a deployment. And then all of these will be contacting a stateful set, a Postgres stateful set. Why do we need a stateful set? So that we can store the generated URL somewhere, right? And why do these services need access to the stateful set? Because, For stats, it needs to see how many URLs have been generated, so it will get that data from the database. For redirect as well, it will get the URL details from the database. For link service as well, it will get the URL detail from the database. So this link service is actually responsible for generating the short URL. Okay, so link service for short URL generation, redirect service to redirect and to append the suffix to the URL, stat service to show the already generated stats, like how many URLs have been generated so far. So these three services will be contacting a Postgres stateful set via a Postgres service. So we have exposed it through a service. Now we'll be using secrets. So database Postgres related secrets will be stored in the secret, which is encoded, base64 encoded within Kubernetes. And then to manage all of these, to do a lot of other things, we have the star of the project, which is Portainer. If you see over here, we'll be provisioning a separate namespace. The namespace is Portainer. Inside that, we'll be creating objects related to Portainer. So it will have cluster role binding, it will have service account, deployment, service, and so on, like few other manifest. And what this will do, it will do a lot of things actually, but we'll be using it for few of the features. So first feature is GitOps. Now what is GitOps? So there is your GitHub repository. Okay, so this one, no, not this one, this is the main app. I will walk you through this as well, so don't worry about it, but let me just show you the repository where our manifest resides for GitOps that will be using it. So Portainer config, I believe this is the one. Yeah, so as you can see, it has different services, namespace YAML, secret YAML, and all the manifest configs, right? So this repository is the K8 manifest repository on GitHub. So this Portainer tool, it will watch this repository all the time, right? So there are multiple options. So there is an SCM webhook or SCM polling, right? So what it will do, if we set the polling option, it will keep checking this repository after every 1 minute. And whenever it finds any changes, it will apply the changes in the cluster. So that's one thing. So that's how it will modify the changes. But before modifying the changes, let's say you have not created anything, like you have not provisioned the environment. So what you will do, you will upload all your files to this GitHub repository, reference this repository in Portainer, and then Portainer detects that yes, these files have not been applied in the cluster. So this project is not yet available in the cluster. So it will apply those changes. Okay. So this feature is called single source of truth. Okay. Why single source of truth? Because it treats GitHub or your source repository as the single source of truth. Meaning if anyone makes the changes directly on the environment, it will be overridden by the changes in the K8 manifest over here in the Git repository. So this GitHub repository will be your single source of truth. And if any changes are made, it will be overridden. So that's the feature of GitOps. So we call this process GitOps. You might have heard or used GitOps before, like there are other tools as well. We have Argo CD, Flux CD, and few more. But this tool Portainer that we are talking about, it does a lot more than GitOps. So GitOps is one feature that we have just seen. We have just actually discussed it, but we'll see that in action. The other thing and the other features of it is it will also help you manage the entire cluster. You can just log into Portainer UI with this pod or service that you have deployed. And using that, you can manage the entire cluster, all the object, all the manifest. You can even troubleshoot any issues. All the logs will be live available over there on the Portainer UI, right? So it saves you a lot of time. It saves you a lot of hassle of using multiple tools for each of these purposes. It will provide you a UI. It will provide you GitOps features. It is easy to set up, easy to use, and it's really a game-changing application when it's used along with Kubernetes, right? So that's why we are doing this project, so that we can see that in action, we can apply all those changes, and we can work through it. So that's the introduction of this project. Now let's go and let's implement everything. All right, so we have two repositories over here and they both are public repositories. So you can go and check it out. I'll share the link in the description as well. So there is this repository which will have the application code. Okay, it will have the source code, YAMLs and everything. So you can start from here if you want to build your own images. It will have the instructions. It will have many scripts created so that you can run the command, or you can even use Docker Compose. Okay, so go ahead and have a look at it if you want. If you want to understand the project deeply, or how do you build it manually instead of using my images that I have published to my repository, you can build on your own. So go check it out. And if you are good with that, this is the repository which is used for GitOps. Okay, so we'll be implementing all these services. So as you can see, it has a secret YAML, namespace, Postgres config, multiple services, front-end deployments, and so on, and then ingress controller and ingress as well. And this is what we'll be doing. So we'll start with a Kubernetes cluster setup. In this demo, I have used AKS cluster, which is Azure Kubernetes service, but feel free to use any Kubernetes cluster of your choice. Portainer works well with any of the managed Kubernetes service. Okay. So what are we doing? We are just exporting variables for resource group, cluster name, and location. We are creating the resource group, and then we are creating AKS cluster with AZ AKS create command. So Azure CLI is the prerequisite. Make sure you have it installed. Now we are enabling auto scaling with minimum node count as 1 and maximum node count as 10. Okay, and rest of the default option, and with the initial node count as 3. So it will be provisioning 3 nodes for you. Now you can log into the cluster and then you can start with the Portainer deployment. Okay, so for Portainer, we'll create a namespace first and then we'll apply the Portainer YAML. So let me show you what this YAML does as well. So let me open that in a new window. Okay, so it has a namespace, a service account, a persistent volume claim, a role cluster role binding, and then a service of type load balancer. So your Portainer application will be exposed on port 9000 as a load balancer service. Okay, that's what we are doing. And then it is in the backend, it has a deployment with multiple ports exposed for different purposes. Like there is a port for HTTPS, then we have TCP edge, and then default HTTP port. Okay, and your props are also set on different ports and on the path slash. Okay, so this is how the Portainer will be deployed. Let's go back over here. Okay, and then once you apply it, you will see the pods and services all up and running, and you can access the Portainer UI with the help of the external URL that will be populated, because it will provision a load balancer and we are using a managed cloud service, right? So here, like on the port 9000, you will access the Portainer dashboard and will do everything from there. Now, there is another important thing is we will not be using the free community edition. We'll be using a Portainer business edition or an enterprise edition. There are multiple options with the Portainer enterprise edition. Let me show you that. Portainer enterprise edition. And don't worry, it's free of cost to use. I'll show you what I mean by that. So there is a business or enterprise edition. Okay, so usually this is this is $1,000 per year for minimum number of nodes. Okay, so let's say if I select 5 number node, this is what it will cost you. But then I'll be using another solution. Okay, so if I go to Portainer, so this is Portainer community, and then there is this option which says get 3 nodes free. If you click on that, you will get 3 nodes free and you will be able to use the enterprise edition of Portainer. Okay, and you will get the license key. So what you need to do, you will fill up this form. Okay, and you provide your email and they will send you the license key over your email. I have already obtained it because I have already tested this. So I have already have the license key. I'm just going to use that license key. But if you are doing it for the first time, so this is the place from where you will obtain your free license key. Okay. So why we are using an enterprise version of a community version? Because enterprise version has few more added features, especially with GitOps, that will be showing in this particular demo. And yes, if you have a cluster that is running 3 nodes, it should be free, so you can use that. If you need more nodes, then you need to go with the enterprise edition with the paid version. Okay, so this will be implementing. And so once you log into your cluster, you will be prompted to add your license key, which will look something like this. So I'll add that. And then for the deployment as well, there are multiple options. One is we'll do the manual deployment, like we'll go to the GitOps Portainer repo, we'll execute this script, and this script will deploy all the manifest sequentially. Like it will provision the namespace, it will provision the secret, then the front end services and pods, and then the back end ones, and so on, right? There's one way, or you can like manually execute it like this. And then we have GitOps through Portainer. So we will be applying all those changes from the Portainer UI, and we'll also see how GitOps work with Portainer. Okay, and that's just the screenshot of how you will access the dashboard. But yeah, that's it. So let's go ahead and implement all these changes. So first, make sure you have AZCLI installed, kubectl installed. Also, Helm is optional, but if you want, you can use that. So this is from where we'll start. So I'm just going to copy this script to provision our AKS cluster. Let me go to, before that, let's just clone the Git repo. So I'm currently in my downloads. Let's go into downloads folder, and I'm going to create a new file. Let's call it demo Portainer. Demo/Portainer. Okay. Now over here, I'm going to do the git clone. So make sure you get the repo from here and do a git clone. Okay. So the repo is cloned over here. Go inside the Portainer config. And over here, which script is that? Oh, so this is the deployment script. I'll show you that later on. For now, we'll go with the AKS cluster setup. So go ahead with that. I'm going to create a new file, or let's just open the folder from here first. Downloads, Portainer config. Okay. And new terminal. Okay, I'm inside that repository. Now what I need to do is I need to create a new file, and I'm going to call it AKS deploy.sh. I'm going to paste the copied content over here, and let's make our changes if there are any, or I can just go with the default options: resource group, cluster name, location. It's fine. And yeah, these looks great. So I'm going to just provide the permissions to the file AKS deploy.sh, and I'm going to execute it. Okay, now it's going to take probably a couple of minutes because it needs to provision the cluster with 3 nodes and all those things. So I'm just gonna pause the recording while it's doing its work. Okay, so now after a few minutes, cluster has been provisioned. Now it is asking me if I want to merge my kube config because I already had it. So let's yes and yes. Okay, and now because the last command in this script was to get cluster nodes and get cluster info, so it is showing me that 3 nodes are ready, which is what I've created. And then as you can see, the cluster info, my control plane is running, code ANS is running, metric server is running, everything looks good. Okay, so after a few minutes, the cluster is healthy. As you can see, my 3 nodes are ready and all my control plane components are also ready. Now let's go back over here and follow the further steps. So we have our cluster provision, get nodes. Now we're gonna deploy Portainer on this Kubernetes cluster. So we'll create the Portainer namespace, then we'll apply the load balancer service, and then we'll watch the changes. Okay, so let's just do these changes. kubectl create namespace is Portainer. Okay, it should create the namespace. So kubectl get ns, and here's our namespace that's been provisioned. Now let's just apply that YAML. It should be over here as well, so I can just copy it from there instead of going to the other window. Okay, this one. So make sure you are, this is community edition. I don't know why, but it should have enterprise edition. Strange. I just pulled these changes and still it is showing me community edition over here. So this is not correct. Uh, we need the enterprise edition. So let me just copy this and apply the changes. Okay, so as you can see, it has created multiple resources. So let's just check the resources in the Portainer namespace. Okay, the pod is container creating. We have a service of load balancer, external IPs pending, deployment, and replica set. So let's just wait and still working on it. What we need is service IP, kubectl get service hyphen n Portainer, and then let's just watch this command. Okay, it was quick. So external IP has been populated. Let's copy this and open that on port 9000. All right, so this is your default Portainer UI. And for the first time, it will ask you to set the password. So let me just set the password, and it must be at least 12 character long. Okay, let's hit create users. Okay, now this is the step where it will ask you the license key. So let me pause the recording and copy my license key from my email that I've got earlier, and then we'll continue. Okay, so I have entered my license key over here and hit submit. Okay, now this is the UI that we'll see. This is the default dashboard that you will see. Now, as you can see, it doesn't have anything because you have not deployed your application yet, but it should show your cluster. Okay, so let's go to home, and over here you will see your Kubernetes cluster. How it detected that we have a Kubernetes cluster and how did it link with that? Because we deployed the Portainer objects, all the manifest inside the same cluster. So that's how it is accessing the cluster. Now, if you click on that, you will see all the details of the cluster. You have 5 namespaces, 4 services, config map, volume, secrets, ingress. We don't have any ingress yet because we have not deployed the application. And here are the applications. So over here, you can just filter it with all namespaces. Okay, it's not showing yet. We don't have any deployment yet, basically. This might be some UI bug. Let's go with services. Okay, over here we see one Kubernetes default service. Okay, and it says system resources are hidden. This can be changed in the table settings. So if we click on that, show system resources, it should show you multiple services. So we have Portainer service that we have created. We have metric server, kubedns, and Kubernetes. I think in the application as well, if you go to application and if we click on that, show system. Oh, so yes, it was also hidden. It's not a UI bug. Sorry, I take my step back. This is what it looks like. And let me just adjust the screen because I think some part of the screen is hidden. Okay, it should be better. Yeah, so over here you will see all the system components, all the application like daemon sets and all the kube system components basically, right? And then you have networking where you will see services and ingresses, config maps and secrets. Here's the config map and here's the secrets as well, right? And then we have all other cluster details, like we have 3 nodes. Here are the resource consumption and all the details. Then you have security constraint if you have set up any. You have registries, which is Docker Hub is the default allowed registry. So everything that your Kubernetes has will be visible from here, right? So let's proceed further. We'll go on the repository. We have deployed it. Now we have did this setup as well. Now we'll deploy our app. Okay. So just I'm gonna run to k8s GitHub repository and execute deploy.sh. Now you might be wondering, what does it have? Let me show you that first. So what it will do, it will set the namespace variable as URL shortener because we already have that namespace created. Then it will go inside the directory and execute all these manifest in this order. Okay, so first it will check if the ingress controller is installed. Okay, and then it will deploy all these YAMLs. start with database. Once it is up, it will start with the other services and then deploy front end and all those services in the exact same order. So inside this, where it is, okay, deploy.sh. So I'm just gonna execute deploy.sh. Okay, it is creating the changes, it is applying all the manifests, and it is waiting for the main pods to be ready. But let's see that in the UI, how does it look like over here? So you see, if you go to namespace, two new namespace has been provisioned: Ingress Nginx and URL Shortener. And if you go to services, all the new services are being provisioned. If you go to application is where your deployments will reside. So now let's filter it by only the custom deployments that we have created. Okay, so these are still coming up. And if you click on any of those, let's click on this deployment front end. Over here, you will see the application containers. The container is still coming up. That's why it's not here. And you can check the events. So these will be the real-time events that will be generated, pulling the image. And if you face any error, it will be visible over here. And then containers. And then here is your YAML as well. Okay. Still loading because containers are still coming up. So let's go back. And okay, it says deployment applied, front end should be accessible at this. Okay, first let's verify this from here. kubectl get all, and the namespace should be URL Shortener. Let's see if I'm using the correct name. URL I've misspelled it. Okay, so we have one stateful set, we have 4 deployments, well, 2 pods are running, we have services over here, and then we have all the pods are running. Now let's go back. Okay, over here the YAML is now loaded, and you can see the real-time updates. If you go to events, here are all the events. So successfully assigned this to this node, pulling the image, start container, created container, all the sequential events that we have. And if you face any error, it will show you the errors over here as well. Okay, so that's the application that we have checked. Okay, now let's try to access the application. So application is deployed through ingress, right? So let's check the ingress from here. Let's go to ingresses. This is the ingress. Okay, and it says this is the name, ingress class, and all the annotations and everything. Let's go back, and here are the rules. So slash will be forwarded to front end on port 80. Okay, so let's get the IP of ingress first. kubectl get ingress -a. So this is the IP address of ingress. This is a URL Shortener simple ingress. So let's get over here. Okay, so this is our URL Shortener app. Over here, we'll test the app. We'll just try to let's copy this URL and let's paste it over here, hit shorten. And that's it. It instantly does it work. It generated the short URL, and this was the original URL. Right, you can just copy it and open it in a new tab, and it will redirect you to the repository. Now all the generated URLs that I have generated earlier as well, it's already here. It's pre-populated in the database, so you can just click on that and it will redirect you to that as well. Okay, so it's part of our Postgres stateful set that we have created. Okay, so that's the URL Shortener app. Now let's try to make these changes from GitOps. Now we just manually deployed the changes. Okay, so let's go to Portainer. Okay, let's go to applications, and then there'll be an option create from code. Click on that. Now you have multiple options. I have never seen a tool that provides you these many options, to be honest. Okay, so first is the repository. You can directly deploy from repository or from Helm chart, right? You provide the chart details, repository, or through web editor, meaning you can just paste your manifest over here and make the changes and it will be deployed. from a URL. This will be also from like a GitHub repository source or from a custom template. Now it will provide you the ability to create your own custom template. So you create your custom template and then you also add the template variables to it. So whatever variables you want to add specific to different deployments, you can do that. So what we'll be doing is through repository. Okay. First option is use namespace specified from manifest. That means you are not creating any namespace over here. Otherwise, it will either go to default or it will create a new namespace. So we'll be using the namespace specified from manifest. We already have the create namespace in the manifest itself. So let's use that. Namespace is specified in the manifest will be used. Okay. And the resource name will also be specified in the manifest. Now give the stack a name. Let's call it demo Portainer. Okay. And authentication, if it's a private repository, you need to provide your authentication details. Otherwise, you can just add your public repository. Okay. So here. So this is where your GitOps files will be there, all the manifest files. Okay, I don't need the authentication. It's a public repository. And here's the repository reference, which is from the main branch. Now over here, you will need to provide your manifest path. Okay, so click a dot. Okay, and then it will show you all the files inside that repository. Let's select the first one. And you can add multiple files over here, multiple paths. So add file. So provide your path over here. Now you need to manually do the copy paste from the repository. So okay, so namespace, we did that. Let's put in secrets. The next one is postgresconfig.yaml. I'm gonna fast forward this because I'm just copying the name from the repository to here. So you will see it fast forward now. Okay, I've added all the details. Now what you need to do is GitOps update, because we are testing GitOps, so we need to enable this option. Now it will provide you multiple options, polling or webhook. There are some options over here that is not available in the community edition. So make sure you are using the enterprise edition. Okay. So let's do a GitOps polling for 1 minute. Okay. And always apply manifest. That means even if there are no changes, it will apply the manifest. So let's use this option and hit on deploy. But I'm not just deploying yet because I need to make one change. We have already deployed all the manifest manually, right, from the backend. So let's just delete those first. So go to namespace. Okay, and I'm just gonna, simplest way is to just delete the namespace and it will delete all the resources inside that. So I'm gonna delete ingress and URL shortener, these two namespace. Don't remove the Portainer namespace because you know why. Okay. So it says it has been deleted. Let's check the applications. Yeah, shouldn't be there. And let's check the namespaces. It's still terminated. So I'm just going to wait for it to terminate. Refresh. Okay, one is gone. Ingress Nginx is still up. So let's just wait for it to terminate. Okay, it's gone now. Now let's go back. Okay, over here, and we have added everything. We have verified everything. Let's hit deploy. Now, when you do that, it will start the deployment of all the resources. We have not tested GitOps yet. We just deployed the changes through GitOps. We are yet to test making any changes to the repository and see if it is being applied through GitOps. But first, let it come up and then we'll check those things. So go to ingress. Your ingress is it's just been created 639. It's just been created. So I'm just gonna get the ingress IP from the backend. Okay, it's still populating. So let's just do a watch on it. And once it is available, it should show an external IP, which is different than this one. This is the older IP that we have created earlier. Okay. Okay, now it shows an IP address over here. Let's copy this. And let's go back to the UI. So this was our older app. Okay, now we have a new app on a new URL. And yeah, as you can see, the app is deployed. Now let's go back to our Portainer, and now we'll be testing the GitOps from here. So first, let's see all the applications, everything is up and running. We'll make a small change to the image. So how do we make the change? We'll make the change from the Git repository. Okay, so let's go to the front end YAML. Okay, and let's edit this, and I'm gonna make the change over here in the image. Instead of v1, we're gonna use latest. Okay, I'm gonna change the version of the front end image. Let's commit the change to use latest and commit the change, and let's go back quickly to our Portainer UI, and you will see the application is being deployed. Let's go to here, go to events, and you see it just started pulling up the image again. Okay, it says, okay, this is for the v1. Okay, it's not done yet because we have that 1 minute of SCM polling. So let's wait for it to detect the changes, and then it will do the changes. Okay, so let's wait for 1 minute. I'm just gonna pause the recording. Okay, so within a minute it detected the changes, and now you can see it says over here pulling image latest. Okay, and it started the front end container. It assigned that particular pod to a particular node, started the front end container. So let's go and check our application if it is healthy. Front end node pod. Okay, here are the containers, application pods. These are running fine. You can check the real-time logs as well from here, by the way, or stats. And here, okay, yeah, here is the kubectl shell. So you can run all the commands that we are running from the VS Code. You can run directly from here. It will load the container, and you can run basically get ingress -a. It will show you all the details, right? I'm just gonna close it. And let's see if the new changes are being deployed. So this is the old app. Oh, wait, this is the older version, which is v1. And if I'm gonna open this in a new tab, this is the newer version. You probably don't see the changes, maybe because the cache is not refreshed. So let me open this in a new Cognito window. Okay, continue to site. You see the changes. So this is a light mode, this is a dark mode. Okay, so that was the changes between these two images. So this is the v1 image, this is the latest image, this has the light mode. Now the other thing that I want you to see is if we go back, yeah, so the changes have been made through GitOps. The one thing that you might have noticed is it's not secure, it's HTTP, because we are accessing the ingress over HTTP. Now there is one thing that you can do to this project to enhance it, to make it more secure, is to add HTTPS to it. I'm gonna give you a small hint because I have explained this in multiple other videos. So it has something to do with provisioning your TLS SSL certificates. Use OpenSSL, generate the certificate, attach those certificate to the ingress, and then your application will be secured over HTTPS. The ports have already been exposed in the application, so you don't need to do anything other than just provisioning the certificate and implementing it in ingress. So that's it. Yeah. So once you are done, make sure you do the cleanup, make sure you destroy your cluster, otherwise it will keep adding some cost to it. So that's it for the video. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you have got the idea how GitOps work using Portainer and what are all the benefits of it. Make sure you implement it end to end, otherwise you will miss a lot of details, right? So make sure you go through the UI, make sure you do the hands-on and understand each and everything. And let me know in the comments if it helps you. Let me know in the comments if you found it valuable. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.